Welcome, Doug, to our first UK Sports Chat video interview. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, just driven up from Redditch and all is good.
Yeah, here to Shropshire, meeting us at the amazing Love to Live.
Yeah, amazing place.
It's a lovely place, isn't it? Lovely place. So, Doug, runner, author, soon to be of 3 books.
Well, I've just got the go-ahead to write a 3rd book, so it'll be a couple of years away because I've got a bit of running to do in between now and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Cool. So what running have you been up to today then? I know we mentioned before we started filming. What have you been up to?
Yeah, well, I've been out running in Redditch this morning with a group of people. I run with a group called Crabs Cross Chasers on a Thursday morning. So we've done a 4-mile run. We also, before the main run, we also run a Couch to 5K, and we'll be starting a new series of those in the next couple of weeks. So
great. So
Thursday morning is quite busy for me.
Great, lovely. And those Couch to 5Ks, do you get a good response to that at the club?
Yes, we've been running them for several years now in Redditch, and there is really a Couch to 5K session on every day of the week, some daytime, some evenings, some weekends. So we try and cater for everybody, because obviously everyone has different demands on their time.
Yeah.
But it's been hugely successful, and people go on and they join the park run, and they join. We have a number of clubs and running groups in Redditch. We've got a couple of affiliated clubs, Kingfisher Harriers, Redditch Stars, and then we have several other groups, social running groups, one of which is the ones I run, where we don't sort of have affiliation or membership fees or something. We just run together and raise money for charity. We've raised, the group I have been running with, we've been running for just over 2 years. We've raised almost £4,000 now for charities.
Amazing, brilliant. And I see you're fundraising at the moment, aren't you, as well? But I'm going to come to that shortly.
Right.
On your current challenge. So I was having a look. Your running CV is very impressive. You're talking about successful running. Just some of the races that I saw on you when I was looking at your website: Venice, the Azores, Easter Island, Antarctica, Rio de Janeiro, Polar Circle, Greenland, Big 5 Marathon, South Africa. I'm really interested in, having been on safari myself. Sri Lanka, Jordan, London, Siberia Ice Marathon, and the list goes on. New York, the Marathon des Sables. When did you start, and why did you get into your running, Doug?
Right, well, I started in 1981, and that was quite late in my life because I was 33 years old then.
Yeah.
And it's actually my son Chris, who I know you know, who was the trigger for that, because he was only 4 at the time and he had a nightmare, and I ran up the stairs to calm him down and I was out of breath by the time I got to the top of the stairs. I thought I need to do something about my fitness, and it was the same year as the first London Marathon, and I watched it on the telly, and up until then marathon runners were just superhumans.
Yeah.
And now you saw ordinary people running around the streets of London running a marathon. So I thought maybe I'll have a go.
Yeah.
And I did. I went out the next day, I ran a mile round the block, nearly killed me. I had to go straight back to bed afterwards. But it was the beginning, and I just got hooked, gradually increased the distance. About 18 months later, I did my first marathon in Southampton.
Yeah.
And just gone on from there, really. Just really enjoyed it and found it's really helped me.
Yeah. Great, and I know that Chris, as you said, I have met Chris. He was instrumental in starting up a park run in Shropshire as well, wasn't he?
That's right. He started up Telford Park Run,
and
he also started up the dark runs, of which there are 2 a year now, which raise money for.
They raise thousands, don't they, for the children's hospice?
Yeah, the Hope House Children's Hospice. Yes. So Chris is also.
The apple hasn't dropped far from the tree there then.
Yeah.
Cool. So you've started running then in the early 80s, and you've done your first marathon. What happens next? Because this list is impressive. Which was your first real huge one that you went for?
Well, probably I had a period of a few years as a single parent where I didn't get to do much running because there wasn't much time. I was sort of working in London as well, living in Brighton, working in London,
Yeah.
and it was a bit difficult. And then from my job in London, my boss offered me a move up to the Midlands to work at the University of Birmingham.
Yeah.
And this was a really convenient time for me because my daughter was just going to university and Chris was just going into the Royal Air Force.
Okay.
So it all sort of slotted into place. So I moved up to the Midlands, and it's probably since I've been in the Midlands, that the running has really sort of kicked off.
Really
and
took off.
I started to do some of these runs that you've mentioned.
So what did you go for first? I'm looking at this big list here. Which was your first international event that you went to?
The very first international event was actually a 5-mile run in America around Bryce Canyon. We're over there for a holiday.
Yeah.
And I did a run around the rim of a canyon, which is an absolutely incredible place.
Yeah.
But probably the first really big event that I got into once I moved up to the Midlands was Marathon des Sables.
Okay. So you didn't mess around?
No, I read about it in a magazine. I was really getting back into my running, doing sort of half marathons and marathons. And I just thought, I don't just want to run in cities. I want to get out into the big wide world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Read an article about Marathon des Sables. It was just coming up to my 50th birthday. So I thought, wouldn't that be a great way to celebrate your 50th birthday? So I went for it, and it was just an amazing experience.
And I think the long stage of Marathon des Sables is close to 50 miles, isn't it? Is that
It is, yeah. It's just under 50 miles.
Yeah.
So, which of course, unless you're one of the elites, you're not going to complete, in one period of daylight. So it did involve running at night time as well.
So how did you prepare for that event then? Because this fascinates me. I had a friend who used to lock himself in a box bedroom with multiple heaters on a treadmill. So how did you go about preparing for that one?
Well, in terms of the temperature acclimatisation, I was lucky because I was working at the University of Birmingham. They've got very excellent sports and exercise science unit there.
Yeah.
So I was able to do things like running on a treadmill inside a sauna.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of sort of heat acclimatisation work, inside a sauna.
Brilliant.
Which was good fun.
And tell us about that event itself then. How did that pan out for you?
Well, to this day, it's still the hardest thing I've ever done.
Is it?
It's a beautiful event. I mean, for those who don't know, the format of it, basically in those days there were 6 separate stages. Starting off 18, 20, 22 miles, and then you had this really long stage of nearly 50 miles. The 5th stage was a full marathon. It's the only time you wake up in the morning and think, thank goodness I've only got to do a marathon today. And then the final stage was a bit shorter to get us back out of the desert.
Yes.
Incredible scenery, incredible conditions, temperatures up to 58 degrees centigrade on the marathon day, running on hot sand dunes. But just the most awesome experience, really. You become very closely, you have to carry on your back all your food for the duration of the race. So obviously you can't carry tins of baked beans.
Yeah.
You have to take dehydrated food. So you carry your food, you have to cook for yourself, and you live overnight. You live in a tent, nothing like as luxurious as this place, just a bit of canvas over your head. And
you have some great memories of people.
You live in there with sort of 9 other people, but you become very closely bonded to them.
Yes.
Because the second day I had an awful day, and when I got back I just wanted to forget the whole event.
Yeah.
But somebody put some hot water on for me and laid my bed out.
Yeah.
Because they know that you're probably going to do that for them the following day.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the running community, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So you do work as a team.
Brilliant. Okay. So you did the Marathon des Sables, you must have thought, well, that's it, I've cracked it then. I've done my running events.
Well, that probably was the hardest thing I've ever done. But no, it just being out in the wilderness, being out. I mean, there weren't that many runners in it, particularly 20 years ago. It's a little bit bigger now.
Yes.
So there are many periods during the day when you are completely alone. You know, you can't see anybody else. There's nobody else in sight, and you're in the Sahara Desert.
So what continued to drive you after that then to go on? Because you've done so many events I want to talk to you about. But what continued to drive you after you had achieved that? You'd done your marathon in Southampton. You'd done the Marathon des Sables. What
Travel,
was next?
really, I think.
Yeah.
Just, as I said earlier, not just being restricted to running in a city. I still love city races. I love road races.
Yeah.
But to go out into the wilderness and see parts of the world that probably you'd never get to see if you weren't a runner.
Yes.
So after Marathon des Sables, I did a series of runs around China.
Okay.
Again, it was about 11, 12 days running every single day, and lots of travelling and sightseeing.
Yeah.
In all different places around China. So we ran in the Gobi Desert, we ran in mountains, we went into Tibet, went up into the foothills of Tibet, where altitude was a real problem. And again, you meet the local people and interact with them, and it's just lovely to meet all these different cultures.
Yes. So that was China. Where else? I know you set yourself this goal of running across all the continents, didn't you?
Yes.
So how have you done that? How have you planned it, and where have you been?
I didn't really set it out initially to run. I mean, as you say, I ran Sahara, that's Africa. I've done China, so that's Asia. It wasn't until a few years ago when I did my first run in South America, which was the Rio de Janeiro half marathon, that it occurred to me, hello, that's 5 of the continents I've done, that only leaves 2 more, so let's go for it.
Yeah.
So at that stage, that left me with Australia and, of course, Antarctica.
Yes.
So I took on Australia the following year. I did a half marathon.
So when was this?
Australia was 2017.
Okay.
Summer.
Just recent.
So quite recently, yes. As I say, the run in Rio was in the same time as, or just a few weeks before the Olympics in Rio. So that was 2016. So then I thought, well, Australia the following year, and then 2018 I went to Antarctica to complete the set. Yeah,
I was looking at your photos on your website. I particularly like the one where you're running past the "Beware of the Penguins" running across your.
Oh right,
across the run route sign.
Yes, no. Antarctica was an amazing experience, and the wildlife was just absolutely incredible.
Go on, tell us about that one.
It was. There are thousands and thousands of penguins, obviously. The way we got to Antarctica, we first flew to Buenos Aires, then flew on down to the southern tip of South America, and then we went on a Russian ship that took us across the Drake Passage to the Antarctic Peninsula. The seas across the Drake Passage are very, very rough. They're the roughest seas in the world. It's the only part of the globe where there's no land all the way round, so there's nothing to sort of break up the currents.
Yes.
When we eventually got to Antarctica, of course, there's nowhere for the ship to actually tie up. There's not a nice jetty or anything. So we travelled ashore. We had to climb down the side of the ship and into these rubber dinghies, and go ashore on these rubber dinghies with outdoor motors. Another part of the wildlife that was quite interesting were the leopard seals, who were really quite aggressive.
Oh right.
And would actually attack these rubber dinghies as we were going across there, and actually sort of bite into them.
So how long did it take you to get to there? You've been through a big journey to actually even to Buenos Aires, then on a boat in the roughest seas.
Yeah, I mean the sea crossing's about 2 to 3 days each way.
Goodness.
So no, it took quite a bit of time to get down there.
Yeah. And was everyone travelling together who was going to the race, or?
Yes. Everybody. There were actually 2 ships going down to the race at that time, and because of there are regulations in Antarctica that control how many people we can have ashore at any one time. So they had to run it as 2 sort of separate races on consecutive days.
Yeah.
So we were the first ship down there, and then the second ship would arrive the next day, and they'd run their race, and then they would combine the results.
So they had to run the leopard seal gauntlet after you.
The leopard seal gauntlet, yeah. The most amazing creatures of all were the whales.
Okay.
Which were absolutely immense. And on one occasion, we were out on the water in our dinghies, and 2 humpback whales came right up to us.
Wow.
And for 20 minutes, they actually entertained us. Our boat was maybe 15 feet long, and the whales were 40 feet long.
Wow.
And they could so easily have just flipped us into the water.
Yes.
But they didn't. They just kept coming out the water, making all sorts of sounds, rolling over onto their backs, and just generally trying to communicate with us. It was absolutely magical.
It sounds amazing. And the actual race then, and the route itself in Antarctica, tell us about that.
Yeah, the race itself started in a pretty fearsome blizzard. It started at a Russian research base. Now again, because of regulations, you're not allowed to use any of the facilities of the bases. So having come ashore in the rubber dinghies in our sort of wetsuits, if you like, we then had to change into running gear just out in the open. Start the race. It was a looped race. I ran the half marathon, so there were 3 loops.
So what time was this? You were in the day that you jumped off the boat into ran the gauntlet with the leopard seals. what time of day was this?
This was sort of mid-morning, really.
So you'd got prepped for the actual race on the boat.
Yeah,
wetsuit gear over the top, and then yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so we prepped in the morning on the boat, and then I say that the half marathon was 3 loops. So we ran past a Chilean base and then onto a Chinese base where we turned round. There were a couple of people who were friends of the runners who weren't actually runners themselves, and they acted as marshals.
Wow. And
one of them, a good friend of mine from America, was actually trying to fend off leopard seals while he was marshalling to keep them away from the runners.
That is going a bit above and beyond. They deserve.
That's right.
They deserve their volunteer T-shirt for.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, he definitely earned his money that day. Yeah. Yeah. So the first lap was essentially running a blizzard. This blizzard came out of nowhere, and we just ran it in a blizzard.
What sort of temperatures are you talking there, Doug? What were you running in? What sort of temperatures?
Wasn't as cold as Siberia, but it was still probably -5 to -10.
Okay.
And felt a lot colder than that probably on the 3rd lap because the wind suddenly got up. The Antarctica, it's very famous for the winds.
Yeah.
And that really blew up. The snow eventually stopped, and then it became very slippery. Yeah, running on fresh snow is quite nice because you get grip.
Yes.
But once it freezes solid,
yeah,
then it got a bit slippery, so it got a bit hairy towards the 2nd and 3rd laps, and then the winds blew up. So, and then of course once you finish, they just get you back on board the ship as quickly as you can. Yeah, you don't really want to hang around.
No.
So you can get into a hot shower.
So how did that compare to? You mentioned Siberia. Then how did the Antarctica compare to Siberia?
Siberia was a half marathon in the city of Omsk. So I flew first of all to Moscow, then flew for about 3 hours further east to Omsk. The year before I ran, you obviously research the conditions and you make sure that you're properly equipped. And the year before, the temperature had been minus 40 degrees.
Wow.
And people's eyes had frozen shut.
Wow.
So, and of course, you've also got the problem of breathing air that is that cold. So, I researched my equipment. I wore goggles, to protect my eyes to stop them freezing. A friend of mine who's a cross-country skier suggested this ski mask, which I wore at the start, but I couldn't get enough air in through it to actually run. But I had a silk buff underneath it, and I was able to sort of put that up over my nose and mouth. Of course, your breath would just freeze, and after a few minutes it's as hard as cardboard. Then you have to turn it a few degrees, and you hope that by the time it's travelled all the way around your head
that you finished
and back again, that it's thawed out a bit. Siberia was again much colder, but there was fresh snow on the ground, so it wasn't as too slippery.
Okay. So, what about this? So the one that really caught my eye, but in my youth I'd spend a lot of time watching the animal channels. The Big 5 marathon in South Africa. What was that one like?
Yeah, that was a true adventure. I went out there with my daughter. My daughter, at that stage, wasn't a runner. I'm happy to say that in the last year she suddenly transformed into becoming a runner, which is lovely to see. But she was a huge wildlife enthusiast. She works for the charity that I'm currently raising money for. So we went out. It's a sort of safari holiday, but when you sign up for the race, they do make it clear that nothing separates you from the animals.
Yes.
So it's called the Big 5 after elephant, rhino, buffalo, lion and leopard, all of which live in this reserve that you're actually going to be running through.
So did you get up close and personal with any of the Big 5?
I got far too close to the elephants. Not actually during the race, actually. 2 days before the race, a group of us runners were out on what was called a bushwalk, looking at animal footprints and trying to learn a bit about tracking animals. And basically we were completely outmanoeuvred by this herd of 6 elephants. Now, how 6 elephants can hide, I don't know, but we were climbing out of a ravine. We'd gone down into the ravine to actually look for them because we'd found their footprints, but they outsmarted us. So they were actually above us when we thought they were below us, and when we started to climb out, they came out of the trees above us and started to charge at us.
Wow, and you were... Wow, six elephants.
6 elephants, a lot of noise,
What did you do?
At one point I fell on a rock and I looked back and they were literally sort of 20 yards away, and all I could see was all these ears and the most horrendous noise. My daughter wasn't with us, but she was in our cabin about a mile away, and the noise was so loud she thought it was outside her door. But we had a ranger with us, and he eventually managed to deter them by firing his rifle into the air. So no elephants were hurt, no runners were hurt. Well, I had a bit of a sore knee, but I still managed to do the half marathon a couple of days later. They managed to keep the elephants away from us, but you're still running with giraffe, zebra, even rhino, alongside the path next to you. I mean, it's an absolute magical experience if you're into African wildlife. It's a beautiful race to do.
Any lions?
The lions, that they surround the local pride of lions and sort of keep them away from the course. But of course there are leopards and cheetahs in the reserve as well, and they're much more solitary animals. So they could have been there, who knows? There were huge crocodiles and things like that. I mean, it's like
amazing.
Running through a safari park without any fences.
So which has been, I mean, your CV is full of races. It's amazing. Have you got a very favourite of all of the runs that you've done?
I think
Why?
the very favourite has to be the Antarctica experience, merely because of the place. You know, it's almost like visiting another planet. You know, it's so unsport. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's so unsport, and the wildlife is so incredible.
Yeah.
That I think that probably tops it. But every single event I've done, you know, there's something really memorable's happened on it. You know, I think, oh gosh, I'm really glad I did that.
Okay. So what's your what is your challenge now, and why are you doing it? Because I know that you're doing more. You're not content.
No, I should carry on. I mean, I'm 71 now, and so yeah, I want to carry on as long as my legs will carry me. As long as I'm fit enough, I want to carry on. So obviously, having done 7 continents, you know, other than running on the moon, there wasn't anything else there. But one thing I have done ever since that very first 1 mile run that I spoke when Chris had his nightmare, when I got home from that run, I made a note of it in a notebook, and I've done that ever since. Every run I've done, I've kept a record of. Obviously these days it's on spreadsheets, it's much easier to add up.
Yes.
So I know now how far I've run altogether, which is over 22,700 miles.
Goodness.
Now, the equator, if you go around the equator, it comes to 24,902.
Okay.
So that's my next target,
That's
to reach 24,902 to have run the whole globe at the equator. So I think it possibly, if I can keep going at my present rate, is about 2 years away.
Wow, amazing. That's amazing.
That's the next goal.
And what about the events coming up? I know you're off somewhere else very soon, aren't you?
Yes, I'm off. This time next week I will actually be in Bermuda.
Very nice.
Doing a series of 3 races called the Bermuda Triangle Challenge. I hope I don't disappear into the Bermuda Triangle, but and then later in the year I'm doing a race in Iceland in a volcanic zone in northeast Iceland.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I've got other events in mind for the future as well.
Yeah. Any secret ones that you could give as an exclusive on? Or
No, well, next year I'm hoping to go to Madagascar.
Okay.
To do a race in Madagascar, and also I'd like to. There's a race in Bhutan in the Himalayas. That's one part of the world that I don't mind admitting I'm quite scared of heights.
Okay.
But if I wasn't, I would have loved to have been a mountaineer and climbed big mountains. So it would be nice to actually go to the Himalayas, and to do a run there. So there's one in Bhutan which I may try and fit in next year.
Great. We had it was interesting that you said you came to running quite late at 33. One of the hosts on UKRunChat on Wednesday evening asked what age people got into running, and there's more and more people now getting into running, and in their 30s, 40s, and even 50s and beyond.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I have friends who I run with who have been even 70 before they've started.
Yeah.
And just they do the couch to 5k, realise how much enjoyment they're getting out of it.
What advice would you give those people who are just starting up, like you did in 1981?
Well, I mean, I didn't have it when I first started, but the couch to 5k is just brilliant for getting people started. I mean, the first week you do more walking than running.
Yeah.
So it's not intimidating to start with, but it's incredible how quickly, over a 9-week period, they can suddenly find themselves being able to run over 3 miles.
Yeah.
And it just makes them feel so good about it. And then once you've got that feeling, they just want to carry on. I mean, this is what happened with my daughter. She just wanted to get fit. She did the Couch to 5k app, the NHS app on the phone.
Yeah.
and now she's talking of entering half marathons.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today, Doug.
Not at all. I enjoyed it.
If any of our followers listening would like to hear more about Doug's adventures, you can in his books. There's called Running Hot and Cold, and Doug's recent one is called Can We Run With You Grandfather, which is all about his 7 continents over 7 decades. And then, as you said, another couple of years there'll be
another couple of years, all being well, there should be a 3rd book.
Be a 3rd, brilliant. But, Doug, I know that you're very active at parkrun, so if anyone ever wants to come and say hello when you're at, it's Red Avon, which is your
I do Arrow Valley in Redditch as my home run.
Yeah. Did you get out Christmas Day, New Year's Day?
I did Shrewsbury.
Oh, did you?
I did Shrewsbury on Christmas Day because I was up here with Chris and the family in Telford. And New Year's Day, I did a New Year's Day double down on the south coast where my daughter lives. So we did Seaford Beach and Peacehaven. So
lovely. I know you're at your local park run, are you, most weeks?
Yes, my local park run. I'm on 340. So I mean that's another. I'd love to get that 500 park run shirt, but you've got to have targets. You've got to have targets ahead of you to aim for.
Brilliant. Thank you. It's been lovely to chat to you and very inspirational. Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.